Good evening. This is the regular Board of Directors meeting of NOSD for January. This is being recorded. Calling the meeting to order. The first board action is approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Any discussion or changes or anything else that anybody has?
14,
Excuse me?
you have to add executive session.
Okay.
It's on there.
Yeah, we,
14.
all right. I have a modification proposed to the executive session in addition to the possible issues concerning the real property transactions. There is also under ORS 192.6602F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection, and to consult with counsel as necessary concerning legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or likely to be filed. And this concerns a personnel matter, just for the board's edification. So with that one addition, any other discussion?
No.
All in favor of accepting the agenda with that one modification, say aye.
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 It's unanimous. We have no guests. Public comments. I don't believe we have any board questions, comments, or discussion.
I just have one question, and David may get into it in the report, but how did it go with the storm? I know I saw you, I saw a couple of you guys out while I was out. The generators went down or the power went down for 4 hours one day, or 8 hours, I guess 4 hours and then 4 hours?
Yeah, we got them back, was it Saturday, like almost 5 o'clock, from the Capes on over to Oceanside.
Yeah.
Sunday, I can't remember when we got back Sunday.
It was only like 5 hours or
Yeah.
something like that, I think.
Everything, generators are okay? Is there anything we learned that we need to get, or?
Well, we're still having some final repairs, which I have in this report for the Ocean Highlands pump station. They just couldn't see that it started. They could see it, it looked like it had power, but Tyler went there and
We had
verified.
to go down and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this all in discussion about the agenda?
Excuse me?
No, it's board
No, it
questions.
was
Oh,
questions, I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
we're
kind
not
of just
quite
get
there
a
yet.
quick,
Yeah.
find out if
And
we needed to, how it went, because.
ODOT
Crap,
and Brian at PUD, they all kept in contact with me
Yeah.
through texting them about the conditions, because they seem concerned about if we can make it out here too, so.
Yeah.
All right, do you have to chain up? Do we use those chains we bought?
We don't have any chains for any of the vehicles, do we? Any of the trucks? No.
They're
We just-
similar.
We just
Because
we just
remember
put,
the last storm, the major storm we had, I could swear you guys bought some chains.
no, we didn't buy chain, we just purchased new tires a couple of weeks ago, because the last year in February, the snowstorm, even with four-wheel drive, with those type of tires that were on there that were more highway tires, I had to get pulled out. So we put, mud and off-road tires type on it. So we didn't seem to really have any problem. It was frozen here on Tuesday, and I made it up the hill pretty good in four-wheel drive.
Jim, we had a discussion over the phone, and Jim seemed to think that at one point chains had been bought several years ago,
Yeah.
or,
If they were, they're probably not for the size of tires that are on these newer trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
The old,
Sorry.
okay.
We tried just for info, we tried those auto socks on a couple of our command trucks. And I I guess they do pretty well on ice, but they didn't do well when it was getting wet and raining. They started flopping off. So if we look into that, I would suggest going with chains and not the auto socks, because we ended up having to chain up anyway.
The fire district here used chains, and you can see the marks in the asphalt out there, the chains chewed stuff up pretty good when they came up to fuel.
Yeah, it actually helped. We had, well, different sort. We had to go get some people off of Maxwell and then go get medications for people that couldn't get medications and go get prescriptions filled, and I was glad they were chained up. Luke drove his Jeep chained up all over the place.
Simeon, do you hear everything okay?
I hear it just fine, yeah.
Thank
So, in a synopsis, yes, all the generators started up, we didn't have any failures, treatment plant, other than the typical items that freeze up that are exposed. But
Yeah, Portland had some pipes freeze, and I guess they lost part of their septic.
we drained all of our water system. The guys went out and they shut off the water system to the plant, and they drained everything so that no pipes would freeze and break.
Thanks to everybody that did all that, because
Good job.
we did
Yeah.
a structure fire, and it was pretty miserable out there in the freezing rain, so thanks for doing all that. I know it wasn't fun. Thank you.
Was that the one in Netarts? or-
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, review of the minutes of December 21st, 2023, regular board meeting minutes. Have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
discussion.
I was not at the December 21st meeting, but it was good to read the minutes, and I did not have any questions.
Okay. And I might add, under item 12, we did approve the calendar, including adding Juneteenth, and subsequently Aaron is working on making that change to the personnel policy to include that as a holiday.
Which is done.
Right. Yeah. So, if there are no questions, all in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
It's approved unanimously. December 31st, 2023 financial statements. Review of all funds. A motion to accept the financial statements.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion.
On page 8, under general fund, I had Aaron move $100,000 out of the general fund bank into the LGIP, so it'll collect interest until we need it. We will see that reflected on your next month's statement.
What funds were those that were being moved again?
What's that?
What funds were those being moved?
He's just asking which ones.
Oh, so at the top under general fund, on page 8,
Yeah,
if you see the Umpqua Bank line says $170,000. I had Aaron move $100,000 into the LGIP, which is still your general fund, but it collects
Right.
interest there, and we'll transfer it out as we need it.
all right, thank you.
On page 2, general liability insurance, That invoice was just paid, and we had budgeted 37,000. The invoice was 37,400 and something. So you'll see that one will go in the red because it's a little bit over what was budgeted.
But that's it for the year, correct?
That is for the year, it's a single annual payment,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's after you removed the fire district's portion, right?
It's the total that we write the check for, so, when you get the fire district's payment, it goes into general fund, right? I mean, you don't put it back into, yeah, we can't put it back in. We've already tried with Springbrook to see if you can, when you pull money out, because I think Jerry asked that a while back, you can't put it back in the same line item that you draw it out of. It has to go back into
Okay.
your general fund.
So even though a relatively small portion comes back from the fire district, it's not reflected here at all?
No,
Okay.
no, this is the total
When this
liability.
goes red, that's what I was,
So next month it'll go red because she had to write the check for 37,000, just under $500, I think.
all right. Do you- I'll wait.
And David, all that is SDIS, do we get the insurance through SDIS?
Yes.
And you're gonna talk about the rate premium increase later under your notes?
I don't think I have it, I don't have that in my,
Okay, so do you want to just kind of explain what you received in the last week or two?
so this would be under personnel services is where this line item, which is the insurance, medical insurance.
Okay.
We received a letter from SDIS telling us to budget for a 13.5% increase.
Yep. We got the
I'm
same
sure you
order.
probably, yeah. So,
Got the same letter, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys are more at risk.
It's a big, no, I just wish I owned SDAO and SDIS.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'd still hang out with everybody,
so those are the only updates I actually have, so when you see it next month, you'll know what it is.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit, actually, always losing money. Used to represent them.
but, yeah.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all in favor of accepting the financial statements as written, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye. Next item is the board audit, accounts payable pages for review.
I see the towing, did one of our trucks break down? The burdens.
Yes, if you see on the second page, I think it's check 18904 to Rob Bonnie Collision, we'd actually lost the throttle pedal, because it's, fly-by-wire,
Yeah.
so there's no actual connection, and it was given a signal, putting it in safety mode, so it wouldn't go over
Wouldn't even
5,
limp.
10, yeah, it would just
Yeah.
barely limp. But that was for the 2010 half-ton truck.
Well, at least it wasn't throttle all the way down. That
No.
would've been more exciting.
Any questions? Okay, district report.
Okay, so I changed, the treatment plant's running fine, it's well within its permit limits. I changed the collection system, the number 1 item on here. That was set up years ago. Usually I only wrote something in there if we brought in a repair like Jelco, or we brought in Michael's now, or we brought in Zawal to clean, and stuff like that, so the board could see the expenditures on that. Since we have a lot of our own equipment now, I mean, we don't have jetters and stuff like that, I decided basically I reevaluated this after you spoke. And the guys go out with the truck, and they go out when it's raining, they pull manhole lids, and they look for inflow and infiltration in the manholes, any heavy flow that's coming through the main lines. And so here you see what they did in January. They went out, pulled manholes when it was raining. They checked 13 manholes, and they identified 4 for repair. They've done more camera work with, once the ice melted, as you couldn't have taken anything down this hill. And so they went out and they've done around 1,000 feet so far this week of inspection, and that will, they'll put together a report for me to show me what lines need repair, so we can go back and identify those and run the camera through them. We don't need to go through every single line, but we do know when we identify a leak, we need to go to that section of pipe and inspect it. So, so we could put together a repair for underground tech to come in, line the manholes, or fix any point repairs, any leaks like that.
That was in
What
response
was
to
the,
that.
what
Well-
was the nature of the repairs needed on the manhole cover?
Manhole cover,
Yeah, you said that you inspected 13 of the manhole and 4 needed repairs. What was the nature of those repairs?
leaks, infiltration. So
Okay.
they're concrete and they're usually grouted inside. The grout after, well, these have been in for 40 plus years. So those start to leak after a while, and we bring in a company, then they spray a sealer on it and seals the manhole back up to stop the leakage.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, that was in response to my comments. That's not saying that it seemed like we were always putting off the inspection.
Right, so-
into the future.
Yeah, I thought about what you'd said. I took it different, I think, than what you meant. But we do inspection. I've always just only written in there when we have to hire outside collection to come in. But since we have our own camera van and our crew, I'm gonna start updating it this way. That way, when you see an estimate, a quote from a company to come in and do repairs, you'll kind of have an idea, kind of how many's coming down the road for us. Yeah. So is this acceptable? This is gonna change as time goes on.
Well, I think it's really good information, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we were off base at all, if it was just, there was stuff in your report that always seemed to be the same word about future intents to inspect, and just the dates kept changing forward.
Well, because it was mainly around Walls bringing his jet truck out, if you remember, and then he finally just didn't do that.
Right, but
And,
some of it was related to, it was written in there too, that there's a matter of staff shortages or
Yeah.
things like that, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying, and I remember Jim followed up, do we need to focus down on staff shortages?
so what we're doing now is, all the staff is being trained, so everybody will be cross-trained on it. Today, we had an operator call in sick. He'd been up all night with the flu.
So you sent Aaron?
Yeah, we'll put Aaron in the truck. You might get some pushback on that.
He said all this stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, we're cross-training all the crew. I think Sean's been trained quite a bit on operating the camera. We have to be prepared for emergencies anyway. I mean, it takes a minimum of 2 people to operate that camera van, so everybody should be cross-trained. And when I find time, I might go out and learn how it operates, you know. Well, I know how it operates, but actually operating it is different.
So there are some inspections going
Yeah,
on.
no, I got to thinking about that, and I thought, we need we need to start showing that we got expenditures coming up as well. I think that'll help when we sit down and start our draft for the budgets and stuff as well, so.
I appreciate knowing that information. Thanks for including it in the report.
Okay,
A couple of weeks ago in Portland, a couple of guys went down in a confined space, sewer workers. And, fire department had to come pick them out of there because there wasn't any oxygen available.
that's usually body recovery is my understanding, but, so, you will see here in the near future, we're gonna look at, getting more equipment for the camera van. We have some manholes that are 20 feet deep. You can't just flash a light in there like you can that are 5 to 8 feet deep and see because it's dark down there. But they do make cameras that will inspect and break your manhole as it goes down, so. Anything past 8 feet, we're gonna have to have the camera, because if not, you gotta send somebody in, and like you just said, confined space, lack of oxygen, LEL, all the type of stuff that, so if we don't have to put operators in those manholes, the better off we are.
So for the confined spaces, do you have any equipment to use?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody goes in a confined space at NOSD unless they have the proper safety equipment on, the monitors. We usually have 2 up top that watch, you know, for that. Somebody's available if we have to call 911 or things like if they go bad. But we try to avoid in those situations all we can. And there is equipment and technology out there that you really don't have to go in. At least our staff won't have to go in, at least not very much. We do go in if we have something stuck in there, a board, a rock. But when they core a pipe to put a lateral in, sometimes the contractor loses it and it goes down, and you have to get in there and get those out. You don't want an impeller to suck that up in there, especially a chunk of concrete. So, and we know how much it costs to fix pumps. The Ocean Highlands, oh, is there any other questions on that? Okay, Ocean Highlands Pump Station, the generator is back up and operational. We found, Cummins found that all their diagnosis on it was wrong from back in September, October when it all started. It wound up being a wire that came off a relay for the starter. So they've credited us back for the parts. They're even coming back out to change out the $4,000 circuit board they thought was bad, put our old one back in. What they did find was that the built-in battery float charger that's built in part of the Cummins system, it had shorted out and it started producing, instead of 12 volts, 30 volts. By doing that, it burned up the battery, and because our pump station control panels are backed up off of that 12 volt battery on the generator, that's what caused the failure of the control panel. Wasn't Cummins' fault, usually when they short out, they just stop producing anything. I've never seen one in all these years short out and start producing 30 volts. I've never even seen it. So that they're gonna come fix, that's like a $1,400 piece. So we'll pay for the 2 trips, so we're gonna be into this about $5,800 instead of the $18,000 we were up to. Now, the parts are still obsolete, okay, so we still have that, and so I haven't canceled purchasing the new generator. So this will be, we'll just bring it up here, we'll figure out what we'll do with it later. If the Netarts water needs it for Ocean Highlands, it's the same thing they have down there. But like I said, you cannot buy very many parts for it anymore, it's just obsolete. So we just need to keep it going. We returned the rental generator, so we're all done paying for that. Because the new generator won't be here until, I think September is what I wrote down before. So after all that fiasco with the generator at Ocean Highlands, it's finally been corrected. So Xylem is scheduled to be on site on January 24th, and what they're bringing out is a demo of the new control systems that they use for the flight pumps. I said that we need to replace Ocean Highlands first, but also we're gonna need to replace Happy Camp. Those are the last of the old multi-trode systems that have there's no parts left available for those. So they're gonna bring it out, we'll demo it, see if it's what we want. It's supposed to be easier for the operators to work and control, so I will let the board know next month what we decide to do, and then we'll try to get an estimate of what changing out that control panel. You have 2 options with these control panels. You can come out, they can retro your old one, so they basically just take everything, all the insides out, put all new parts in. That takes up to 2 days. But the scary part is, one, you wouldn't have any pumps operational for those 2 days. The control panel, once they wire it all up, then they have to troubleshoot it. I prefer, like we did at Netarts, you build the panel, you test the panel, you come and you swap it out in a couple hours. Saves on downtime and saves on risk of a spill. So there's not much room, and Ocean Highlands is a low flow pump station, but it's not large enough. If you've been up through there, it's not large enough to get big trucks in if you have to try to get it out of the wet well. It's a little more money to do that, to swap them out, but it's the least amount of downtime, the least amount of risk. So that's what I'm gonna ask them to provide. I don't even want the other estimate unless the board wants to see it. Okay. I just updated you on the new Cummins generator. It still due to arrive in September. The effluent pump for the effluent pump station, it left Sweden on the 10th. It's on the boat. ETA, as you can see, is the 8th of February, and they'll be delivered to us by the 26th of February. North Coast Lawn, they came up, they cleared and brushed out around all the fences. I know it was probably dark when most of you got here, but I don't know if you've seen the grounds around here. It's never been so clean. I mean, they did a really good job, and that was $9,000. They did do some spraying, but not much because of the rain. But this was kind of a sampler they gave us to show us what they could do for around the building. Those guys work in all weather, rain, snow, it doesn't matter. They seem to work in all weather. So what I would like to do is, I have a proposal from North Coast to have them start taking care of our lawn maintenance and yard and brush. We can use them for cleaning easements, which we're gonna eventually get to when we start inspecting all of our sewer lines, because we have a lot that are overgrown with vines and salal and brush. So they can do that, but to maintain all of our grounds, fix the manicured lawn that used to be here when it was all landscaped, when it was first put together 11 years ago, is $800 a month. I didn't get this till after I'd already written the district report. So he put together a list of what they do, and then there's also a schedule of what they do each month, what they'll come out and do.
Aaron sent you that.
Oh, she did. Did you get it, Simeon?
I did, Aaron sent it to me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
So, I think it's a pretty good deal. It frees up all the operators to go out in the field. He will give us prices on certain areas that if we need done, like cleaning out easements is probably something you do once every 5-6 years, you know, depends on growth. But he's willing to do that, but this is just grounds maintenance inside the fence line, well, on the inside and outside of the property, the 10 acres.
How long had it gone without maintenance?
Well, local has been doing it for the last 11 years.
Okay, so
I-
$9,000 was to basically make up for what hasn't been done by them over this time.
Yes.
Okay.
And-
I wanted to compare $9,000 to deal with 9 years of stuff versus $800 a month, so how much a year, basically $9,000 a
It's-
year, every year, instead of
It's,
waiting until it needs it and then spending them.
it's usually, she shows up once every 6 months. All the plants were growing into our light poles and into the inspection covers and rusting them.
Okay, so this is what goes to change.
This is, no, because she mainly just takes care of the entrance on the outside of the fence. She rarely comes inside hardly at all.
So I guess, are we gonna continue having her also?
Is that Chris?
Yes. So, I was gonna leave her, just finish off, I think she only, she doesn't even invoice us enough in a year to even get her tax form. So,
I don't care, I'm just asking.
You know, yeah, I know,
yeah,
it's good relations.
Okay.
yeah, it's not that much, if she wants to take care of that, I've already talked to North Coast Lawn owner about it,
Okay,
he's,
so that goes to
he's
my,
fine.
that goes back to my original inquiries.
Yeah.
Was it $9,000 to take care of 9 years of build-up stuff? And wouldn't it be more economical for us to let it go every 2 or 3 years and spend,
So,
rather than guarantee $800 a month?
so the $800 a month covers more than just the brushing out of never being done. So they will make sure that the brush doesn't grow back through the fabric of our fence anymore. So if you come up here during the daylight, you will see how all this has been cleared out around the lagoons, the fences, all through there. Because what happens is the brush, the trees, everything grows in and it ruins the fencing.
I buy all of that.
And she doesn't,
I buy all of that,
yeah.
but I used to do landscaping, you might be surprised.
Well,
And if something like this, you usually wouldn't pay for monthly maintenance. So a big area like this, you would pay to have them come in every 2 or 3 years and clean it up. And it would cost you less than having them come in every month. during
this
that 3
has an
years.
extensive underground irrigation system that's electronic, that waters all the plants and it waters the lawn
Mhm.
and that type of stuff. So there's more to it. The lawn needs mowed, you know, in the
But
summertime.
it hasn't been being done.
Yeah, you know, the guys, I pull them off out in the
That's the
field.
missing piece of information.
Okay, sorry. So I pull them off out in the field and they come in here and they weed eat and they mow the lawns and they take care of the grounds. Pump stations and
All
everything.
right, I wasn't, that was the missing
So-
piece. I thought it'd just been on its own for all this
No,
time.
no,
and
no,
we Played
no.
catch up.
So
Oh,
we're
sorry.
paying out more than $800 a month to have operators
Okay.
doing it. And they're not really lawn aficionados, so, anyway.
I think you do a good job.
So, but anyway, no, we need to free the operators up. We were probably paying more than that, plus the maintenance of the lawn equipment that we have, grounds equipment. Time you add it all up with labor, which is your highest, this is a much better deal for us. Plus it frees them up to go out and do the collection work. We're having more repairs at pump stations, as you've seen over the last few months. We're gonna have, they just spent an entire day down at the UV working with Wetico, fixing that. So I need to have them pay more attention to our operation than mowing lawns and weed eating.
Yeah, if you led with that, that would've been fine, because otherwise, a lot more information before we build in another $10,000 a year of permanent expense.
Right.
Okay.
But
So,
that is just in our budget?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, it'll come out of our general fund, and I just showed you how we just transferred 100,000 over. So there should be enough, this is, yeah, around $10,000 a year. And I'd like to try it for a year with them and see if there's a benefit for the district as far as releasing us to go out in the field and do more work.
Okay.
So specifically, have you walked with them, or do they know specifically what's gonna be covered here on this first page?
I've already walked through the most of the grounds, but a lot of that stuff, I didn't know what he was talking about as far as intervals and trimming and all that stuff, but.
So when you've mentioned that there's some easements and other things that will need to be addressed, that's
No.
under the $70
No.
additional?
Well, it'll be additional, I'll have him come out and give us a hard price,
Those
like
are
he
separate
did,
projects, John.
yeah.
Yeah,
Those
that's,
are separate kind of collection projects that'll have to be done,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
This is just to take care of everything up here in this 10 acres, is what this is for. I would like to try it for at least a year, but I think it should work out well. So it requires 2 signatures and approval from the board. Even though it's right at my limit, this is a contract, and I would prefer the board members to approve it and sign it.
I have no objections.
Okay, can I have a, since we're gonna sign this, can I have a motion to accept the proposed contract with North Coast Lawn?
It's not if we had a contract.
Well,
Well, I refer to it as a contract because he sent that saying that.
A monthly
Appears,
subscription.
And there's two printed signatures to approve.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that you can stop it at the end of the year, there's no cancellation in here, no.
It doesn't state that on here. His email did, but it doesn't state it on this. So I need to have him go ahead and change that or add something in here.
Okay, however, if they're comfortable, you just staple that.
Or
Initial the.
like
Okay.
you are mentioning, what, if we decide to terminate, what is it, 30-day notice or
Usually.
something along
Okay.
those lines?
Yeah, yeah, I thought there would be another sheet to it, but he kind of put in his email, which isn't really attached to this. So I would rather have him put it on a sheet, yeah.
Okay, so motion to approve this as a contract with the additional language that we would need on it, that we just discussed.
Or attachment, like Jerry said. And then I could sign that one, because you'll have already approved it.
Okay, yeah, I'll move to accept the contract with the modification that include 30-day cancellation.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
so just one thing I mentioned last time about the spraying. It could conceivably be that the whole area out here is weeds.
You're worried about the spray in the watershed down there?
Yeah, I mean, if we don't have to use it, I mean, you know, I don't know how to,
So the roadway, if that's what you're talking about, that's part of the land management company, not us. We pay $1,500.
yeah, I'm talking about what they're
Our-
responsible
Right.
for. And rather than just willy-nilly kill it all.
So he needs
For
to,
this kind of money, you know,
well, he does need to kill the vegetation growing up in the roadways around the lagoons. I can't have roots take hold and start growing through that liner
okay.
of that lagoon. So I
Just-
told him
just
not to.
If they could just
yeah,
be cognizant of,
Right.
you know, to use less of it when possible.
So he has to supply us anyway. I have to request an MSDS sheet because all the operators would be in contact with it. So by OSHA, we have to have that anyway.
Okay, good.
So so whatever chemical he uses for spray, he needs to supply us with an MSDS sheet. And then we have to have a SOP written for that.
'Cause you know, I don't know about the lagoons, whether it be an issue at some point or not.
You don't want any strong pesticides in those lagoons. That's a biological process. Even when we stop using it and we let it go through its biological process over the next few years, you don't want pesticides in there killing microorganisms.
Right. Okay,
So he stopped spraying when I told him that I needed to have an MSDS sheet.
okay.
The contractor for the Oceanside Netarts Pump Station Manual Transfer Switch project, I just received an email from Northeast Electric, who's doing the project. There will be a $6,500 change order. So what happens when these projects drag out too long, and which this one has been a year because we're waiting for the generator. And the real problem was, I guess, the manufacturer that gave him a quote for the manual transfer switch for Netarts Pump Station. We did that change order to add it on. He gave him the Northeast received the quote, but it was for a 200 amp manual transfer switch. Netarts requires a 400 amp transfer switch. So what I read in the email, the contractor is hoping that, no markup, he's hoping that he doesn't have to eat all that. So I have found that usually contractors win in court on most things, but I haven't talked to the engineer yet about it and see where we're at with that. But the delta is about $6,500, $6,400, I think $55 increase. But you can't put a 200 amp breaker down there, 200 amp manual transfer switch at Netarts.
So it was an error in the order?
Well, sent that email to me. I haven't seen the quote or the order. He is saying that they quoted him for a 200 amp manual transfer switch and not a 400.
Aaron quote.
That he didn't catch, is what I'm thinking, that he didn't catch it. So,
I'd say offer split with him.
I gotta get with the engineer, I gotta find out exactly what happened. When I first read it, I thought, well, you should have looked at your quote, but I gotta see if our engineers approved it. So, it would have been in their electrical engineers that work for West Tech. So, it might be out of there, because if West Tech or Landis approved that, then they didn't read the specifications on it.
So you have more information for that next meeting?
Yeah, like I said, I just got a couple hours ago, I just wanted to let you know that that's what the contractor is asking. He sent it to me and Chris Pagato at West Tech. So. And did the board happen to notice the flow chart?
Yeah, it's in black.
So, on December 6th, we hit 1,300,000 gallons of flow through the plant. It's a 500,000 gallon a day design treatment plant. So, and it took it. It took it really well. The reason it's blacked out, because once the grid goes that high, it brings all the lines together. So there was no way for me to open it up. And if you read above, you see on the 6th, that's a record high flow. We have never, ever seen that high. We've got up to 1 million before, but we've never got this high. And that's when it was raining a lot and it flooded, the Bay Road flooded. The guys went down afterwards, but we put covers in there to help stop it, but that road was completely covered by the creek. I mean, the manholes were under at least a half a foot of water. And our pumps ran 14 hours, all 4 pumps at Netarts nonstop, almost in spill mode the whole time. So it kept up, and it went beyond its design capability. So, yeah, so DEQ can, anyway,
Do those covers completely seal melt?
No.
no. These are the covers, just so, I think I've showed these to you before. These are the newer style ones. These go under the manhole lid, so they sit down. You still drive over the manhole here, but this catches that water. These new style have gaskets on them. So they should seal better. They'll never seal completely because it's cast steel, all the rings and the manhole lids. So they're kind of rough, so they will never seal. They're not machined edges. But these are what the guys went and installed on the Bay Road. This should help reduce some of that inflow that comes in. Like I said, it's not going to stop it, but it should reduce it drastically.
I think as the bay continues to silt in, you'll see that rise come up more and more.
Well, what happens by Silver Sands, you have that creek right there that runs under the highway and it runs around the Bay Road by our pump station and then it discharges into the bay 100 yards or so up from us. Once it becomes inundated and that culvert can't take it out to the bay, then of course what it does is it overflows across the road.
Well, 2025, FEMA's gonna stop they're gonna outlaw most dredging. So I don't think we'll ever be able to dredge out what we need to dredge out. If we fill the bathtub with sand, water's gonna go somewhere. So I think that road will be, we have that problem with Fraser Road all the time. And the county's pretty much written that road off. And they're gonna pave, Elkoff?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna end up using that, so, I mean, I think we're gonna see that along the bay as well. So that's why I was asking if they seal, because I think we'll get to the position where at some point, that road, those manholes are gonna be more and more underwater. And if that's gonna put that much water into our system, then it won't be just a once a year thing, it'll be more like a once a month thing.
And this is where I had a disagreement with Representative DEQ, because they consider that a spill, and how can water going in be spilling out? You know, And so their logic was flawed, completely. We didn't lose it out of the wet well, so we didn't lose anything. But he wanted me to write it up as a spill. It's not a spill. Nothing was coming out of those manholes. It was inundated and it was all going in.
Well, you know, I think I mentioned this last month, but one thing I didn't say is that during the Reagan era, I worked for the county road department. Myself and one other guy were sent around to clean culverts and make sure that ditches were clean. And that ditch hasn't been cleaned properly for years. So that's something we might wanna mention.
Well, they finally fixed one of the slopes that kept failing and going across the Bay Road, which also, it diverted the flow coming down off that hill, so it's not going directly into one of our manholes. But because they haven't cleaned the ditch, once it fills up, it's just the ice cube effect.
We should
If the
probably,
road goes to.
is that county works?
Yeah.
If it gets to
Wonder if
where
we
the
can talk
road
to
is
them
so close
before-
to being underwater,
before
all the time,
25,
that
so
might
that
as well be.
if we need to pull permits,
Possibilities.
because
for us
Sarah
to
Asher's
take
not gonna be able to
inserts
pull
and
any permits
our
under 25.
manholes higher. You
to
know,
do
it's
any
no
kind of
longer
dredging
a-
projects.
Well,
Because we
if
were trying to
it's,
get some stuff
yeah,
done.
yes and
Reduce
no,
the
yes,
flooding.
if they abandon that road, right now elevation, we can't lift our manholes up any higher.
Then you put pipes into,
No, because the road is still a county use road. Remember, we're a guest in there right away.
yeah,
So, the only time is if they come do lifts and they lift the road, then we can lift our manholes concurrent with theirs.
that's illegal, not a engineering problem, engineering wise.
Oh, engineering wise, no, I don't think it'd be an engineering issue. The engineers, we could turn them loose on that and they'd be happy to lift those manholes up 2 feet.
I doubt the county's gonna care once it abandons the road, to
Yeah.
take steps to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want, that's still for future discussion, but it's.
Right.
Maybe
It's
we should
gonna,
have-
it's
think
gonna
about
happen.
that.
So it's-
Well, if the county goes in and they do any road maintenance, repairs, those are locking manholes down there, which they don't make those anymore, they're so old, and they're an odd size. So we would have to have a contractor come in and dig all of our manholes up, and not completely, but take the top off,
Mhm.
and they would have to put the new size manhole lids on.
Okay, I just have to.
If they abandon the road, I assume, can we just weld them all closed and seal them? Can you seal them up
They'll need
at that
access.
point?
You gotta let.
Yeah, don't give them any bad ideas, but no, we won't be able to weld them shut. No. Those are our entrance points, Jeff, so we can go in with our equipment and inspect and repair. Yeah.
I just wondered about those specific ones that are along that roadway, those are the ones that are gonna be the most effective, or affected, so.
I was asking if we could put.
Yeah,
inserts in
raise them up.
Raise them up.
We can
I'd
drive
rather
around.
take more board time with it.
And I'm assuming that the RV parks would have a real problem if they close that road.
They're not gonna close that road.
Yeah.
So that's a reason.
But they haven't done anything with it since I've been here, so.
But the water might.
Netarts Bay, I
Well,
don't think
well,
it's
all
ever
the
been
time.
touched either.
What I'm saying.
Well, if the
is
water-
that-
Never done it.
That corner is where the water was going over the road. And that was one of the spots in the county that we always made sure was clear, all the way down to the marina.
Jeff's point was that the bay level is rising, because there's more dredging.
Yeah, there's more sediment, I think, going in. I mean, that's what's happening along the Trask.
If the bay
Or
rises to
until
over the road
the
level,
bay.
then.
When we built the new Netarts pump station, tore down the old one, we had to move it, relocate it from its original spot where that bench is sitting up to where it's at because of that. And we had to get it up out of the floodplain. So,
That'll be the next board's problem.
superintendent too.
Well, I'll be retired.
You haven't received the electrical bill yet for that.
No, but you will, it will reflect, yes. It will probably jump at that pump station, probably $3,000. 460 horse pumps are,
Yep.
they use.
I don't have any contacts at PUD.
I do, but they're retiring now too.
I do, but you do PR.
So, district report, is that complete then?
Yes, unless the board has any questions.
Old business, none that I know of. New business, we have the Marine Mills Center custodial contract renewal. I have a motion to accept the renewal proposal.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
Seconded.
discussion. Anything, comment? Roll
There
down.
was a small increase, right?
Yes, 480, I think it's what we were paying before, 479 and some change,
And what's it increased to?
542.77.
Okay, that's the increase.
So about $60.
A month,
Do it 10%. Inflation.
yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor of accepting the janitorial agreement, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
It's approved unanimously. At this point, I'd like to suspend the normal Board of Directors meeting, and we'll go into executive session.